This is my keto pie. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Dirty keto, lazy keto, clean keto. What is the difference and what are you doing? Well, we're gonna highlight it all for you. I've got 8 simple criteria here, and then I've got a fun little pie chart that's gonna make you hungry for pie on keto and pretty much just torture you. But let's go ahead and let's dive in. I'm gonna just not waste any time. So number 1, okay, the rule is to stay in ketosis no matter what, right? So if we look at sort of the criteria to stay in keto in general, how do we define dirty keto versus lazy keto? Well, with clean keto, sure, you're staying in keto. With dirty keto, you're also staying in keto, meaning you're not having too many carbs, okay? It's pretty simple. Lazy keto, it's even harder to maintain. Okay, here's why. Because with dirty keto, you're following macros. Dirty keto is about the quality of the food, but you're still paying attention to how much protein, how much fat, how many carbohydrates. As long as I have those macros, I can eat more or less whatever I want within that category, right? If I'm allowed to have 100 grams of fat, it doesn't matter if I have 100 grams of fat from mayonnaise or 100 grams of fat from olive oil. Okay, but you still have a set number that you're having. With lazy keto, you're not having any macronutrients set up because it's, quote, lazy. So that means that your ratios are all out of whack. So dirty, you have set standards, you just eat whatever. Lazy, you eat whatever with no set standards, right? That's really the big defining difference. The next one is micronutrients, like what kind of vitamins are you getting and everything like that. With dirty keto, there's not really a heavy focus on it, but because you are paying attention to specific macronutrient ratios, i.e. X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, it's a lot easier to achieve that. With lazy keto, it's almost impossible because you don't have any set standard. One day you might have 20 grams of protein, another day you might have 200, and it makes it really hard to have stable electrolytes, stable vitamins, stable minerals. Which leads me right into number 3, electrolytes themselves. Now it sounds like a small thing, but it's very, very, very important on keto. With dirty keto, you're usually getting enough salt because you're still fitting within a given profile, right? You're probably eating lots of meat, you're probably eating things like that, and you're probably getting enough salt, but you're probably deficient in a lot of your other minerals that would normally balance out your electrolytes, which by the way, on keto are extraordinarily important simply because the kidneys expel extra water when your insulin levels are low. And when you're on keto, you're not having many carbs, your insulin levels are naturally lower, okay? So with electrolytes, zero care is given whatsoever. Dirty keto, you might give a nod to some electrolytes now and then. You might give a nod to a vegetable to get some potassium. Lazy, you're like, what the heck, if I'm gonna eat mayonnaise and tuna today and that's it, then that's it. Number 4 is going to be the fat ratios and the amounts. Okay, now what I mean by fat ratios is I mean what kind of fats. Not all fats are created equal, right? You have healthy fats like olive oil, like coconut oil, things like that. And then you have terrible fats like hydrogenated fats and all these other kind of just bad fats that aren't going to be good. High omega-6 oils, sunflower oil that if we don't want a lot of, soybean oil. Okay, so with the fat ratios, with dirty keto, you're focusing on the appropriate quantity of fat because again, you're still paying attention to how much fat you get in. Okay, but still low quality. So dirty keto is not good for fat ratios. That's probably one of the worst things about dirty keto. Lazy keto takes it a step in the other direction, even worse, right? Lazy keto is random quantity and random qualities. So you might be getting copious amounts of omega-6s, copious amounts of soybean oil or something, and then the next day get copious amounts of another oil. It's all over the place. And then when we get down to the pie chart in a little bit, it'll all make sense because I'll give you some examples. Sweeteners, this is a big one. Okay, with dirty keto, you're using a lot of artificial and natural sweeteners. You're probably eating a lot of processed food that has, maybe some aspartame, maybe some sucralose. You're probably drinking energy drinks, things like that. You're probably having a lot of these keto snacks that have a bunch of erythritol and a bunch of stevia, a bunch of monk fruit. Not the end of the world. You're having kind of a hodgepodge of all of them. You're leaning into that a lot. But with lazy keto, you find yourself using sugar too. You find yourself using as much sugar as you can before it kicks you out of keto. That's kind of the rule with lazy keto. You say, no, I'm gonna have sugar. As long as I'm in keto, I'm good. Just think lazy. Okay, it's not that complicated. It's actually pretty simple to think. Anything as lazy as you can get with keto, that is lazy keto. So yeah, I'm gonna have that chunk of that cookie. I'm gonna have that half of that brownie because it's only gonna be 15 grams of carbs and I'll probably still be in keto even though it's negating a lot of the effects in the short term. And then you're also having a lot of these really low quality sweeteners, like maybe those maltitol ridden isomalt kind of riddled candies, like those really cruddy ones that you might find like the dollar store, stuff like that are just loaded with these terrible sugar alcohols that most people even on dirty keto don't go for. That's really a good example because those are just readily available and you're still looking at like 20 grams of carbs coming in from sugar alcohols. With sweeteners and with keto treats and everything like that, it can be difficult to ascertain which ones are really good on keto. I would highly recommend, if you want good keto treats and you want just good variety for your pantry, I'll put a link down below to Thrive Market. They're an online membership-based grocery store, but Thrive Market has really, really good things when it comes down to keto. So you can go on their website and you can sort by different diet types. So virtually go to their website, select keto, and then select all these different categories within keto, baking or cereals or snacks or whatever, sauces, condiments, and it will give you all the different keto varieties they have there, and then they get delivered to your doorstep. It's super convenient. It's more or less what I use almost exclusively now to stock my pantry because it makes it that convenient. I save a ton of time and money because I don't have to go to the grocery store. Honestly, it is a serious, serious lifesaver if you're doing any kind of unique dietary pattern that has some specialty foods in them. So as a result, I put a link down below. They're a big supporter of this channel too, so I want you to check them out after this video and you can utilize that special link and get access to some of the things that I would personally recommend with Thrive Market. Processed foods is a big one. Dirty keto or clean keto, for example, you're probably not having much processed food. And the processed food you are having is clean processed, where you're not having additives. Okay, dirty keto, yeah, you might have processed ingredients. You know, you're gonna have things like possibly some different lecithins and possibly some different emulsifiers, things like that in the keto snacks and the treats that you're eating, but you're not having tons of it. Whereas with lazy keto, it's like level 10 full-on processed foods. Think go into the frozen section and finding some mac and cheese and ditching the noodles and just scooping out the cheese, that kind of product. Like it's just lazy, 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 right? Calories. Okay, with dirty keto, you're still paying attention a little bit to a deficit to try to lose weight, right? You're paying attention to how many proteins, how many fats, how many carbs, and you're just paying attention to that and you're giving a nod to it at least. With lazy keto, zero cares whatsoever. You don't care. You're just trying to stay in keto. You might eat 3,000 calories one day, 5,000 another, 1,000 another. You don't really care. You're just doing whatever you need to do. Okay? Then fiber is a very big one to pay attention to. With clean keto, you pay attention to your soluble fiber intake, like from chia, from flax, from psyllium. You also pay attention to your insoluble fiber intake, what you're getting from veggies. You're really trying to get a nice, robust amount there. With dirty keto, you might get fiber from various almonds and things like that. Maybe you eat nuts that have small amounts of fiber. You're paying kind of attention and justifying it maybe. Oh, I'm gonna have this little like handful of almonds, I'm gonna get some fiber out of it. You're getting some fiber, and mild attention is paid to the overall quantity, how much you're getting in. Oh, well, I had 20 grams of carbs today, but 10 of which was fiber. You're paying attention to that at least, okay? With lazy keto, very low fiber and practically no quality or quantity, okay? You're just eating whatever. You're not paying attention to it at all. Dirty keto, again, you give a thoughtful nod to, of course, your fiber. Okay, now let's jump to the fun part. We're gonna jump to this little pie chart that I drew. And what I did is I divided it into what people would typically eat in lazy keto as far as macronutrient ratios, right? This big section is fat, this medium section is protein, and this smaller section is carbs. Now, give or take, right? Because it could vary. Fat, and then I divided them into subsections. So fat, I divided into what you're mostly eating with fat, what you're moderately eating with fat, and what you're not getting a lot of with fat. So with the lion's share of the fat intake on lazy keto, you're gonna be things like soybean oil, like vegetable oil, hydrogenated fats, like peanut butters, things like that. Margarine, more hydrogenated fats, refined oils that have been highly processed, low quality butter that's not grass-fed. Lion's share of your calories are probably coming from things like that. Mayonnaise with soybean oil, all that. Moderate amounts coming from moderately sketchy fats, right? Peanut butter again, coming from like legumes. Fast food eggs, because yes, the fat, I count it more of a fat than a protein. And fast food meat, okay? High fat, really low quality meat. You're getting a lot of that. Wings, stuff like that. And then the rest, the little chunk is like the remnant oils, the little leftover good oils that you get. Maybe you had some processed food that had a little squeeze of olive oil in it, right? Okay, now let's move into protein. Okay, protein with lazy keto, the lion's share of your protein is coming in from lower quality or easy, convenient, lazy protein. Lots of shakes. Oh, I need more protein. Let me have just a cruddy whey protein shake. Beyond beef, super convenient, but riddled with a bunch of preservatives and processed stuff, right? Regular eggs that you're not paying any attention to pasture raised or free range or anything like that. I put wings here again just because that's a perfect example. You go to Buffalo Wild Wings or something, you just load up on wings and get your protein in that way, right? Fast food protein again. And then you probably still have some decent proteins coming in, like maybe some steak, some chicken, some fish, with no recognition whatsoever of where it's sourced, grass-fed, grass-finished, wild-caught, nothing, just regular protein. And then the carbs. Okay, small amount of carbs, still 10% or so of your diet coming from carbs, with the bulk of it coming from things like sugar. Okay, then the rest coming from things like sugar alcohols, like the isomalt, the maltitol, still is going to count to some degree. And then little bits of wheat that are in things like, oh, maybe I'm going to have keto bread that has wheat gluten in it, starches, potato starches, binders, fillers that add up with carbs. And then a little teeny sliver you're probably getting from your veggies, and more than likely it's probably from some like fortified veggie food that doesn't really have veggies in it. So at the end of the day, this is what differentiates lazy keto from dirty keto. Okay, clean keto, upper echelon. Dirty keto pays attention to some things. Lazy keto is like, I just want to be in ketosis. Could you get results? Probably a little bit, but it's not going to be sustainable. I'll see you tomorrow.